Guys, welcome back to NFT Talks podcast. And I'm here today with an OG project. I've got Mark. He's part of management from the Ape Gang NFT PFP project. Welcome, Mark. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Sean.
Yeah, and thanks for coming. And I can see if anyone's that is watching and on YouTube, you can see that he's got his PFP image on top of his face, which is cool. You're the first guest to actually have that. So
really?
yeah, you are. So I'm sure I'll look to see you many more in the future. But yeah, you're officially the first one to rock this. So yeah, man, thanks for showing out.
That's how we like to roll.
Yeah, man. So like you said, man, like OG project Ape Gang. I mean, you guys have been around from, I think the minute was in June, wasn't it? 2021.
June 2021.
Which is, I will definitely consider that still early within the game, especially when it comes to PFPs. I know that Bored Apes was only, I think it was in April. Was that right? April, but Bored Apes were in April, and and then Cool Cats was literally just a few days before you guys. So you're amongst the originals, I would say, the OG projects, and you guys are doing a lot out there, man. So I'd love to hear a bit about yourself first in regards to how you got into the NFT space. Like I said, it's always interesting to hear people's journeys, and I want people to share their journeys, how they got into projects or what they're doing in the space, and in your perspective of what's going on. So just explain a little bit about yourself, and then we can go into talking about obviously the project and everything else.
Sure. Well, I was in no means meant to enter the NFT space. I'm actually a scientist by training, and I always thought NFTs were super weird. And then my brother and I were talking about them, and I remember in March we were talking about the Bored Ape Yacht Club and how stupid it was to buy an NFT where all you could do was write on some bathroom wall. And we were like, how can people buy these things?
That's the kind of, for a lot of people's minds. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to it. Like, why would we do this? It's natural to question things that hasn't been done before, and that's just a process of you trying to make sense of what's going on, isn't it? Then you have to kind of do your research, and then the penny drops, I think. So when did that penny drop for you?
Well, it dropped when we actually started to enter the NFT space together, my brother and I. And we started with Zed, the horse racing.
Okay, yeah.
Because we thought, okay, at least these are sort of breathable NFTs. They have some kind of function. You can race them. You can speculate in genetics and so on. Mm-hmm. So we thought, okay, at least this has some kind of value besides just being a PFP. So we bought those, and then of course we got hooked. Then my brother started following this guy on Twitter, and then we just basically started buying whatever he bought, as you do.
Yeah.
And one of the things he recommended was Ape Gang. So we bought a bunch of those when the floor was 0.05. Had no idea what we were buying. We should have bought some different ones if we had known what we were doing.
Yeah. I think that's the case for a lot of people at the start, though. I mean, I guess everyone's just trying to find their feet. Where's their strategy to it? I think when we think back then, like I said, Bored Apes wasn't what it was. I mean, so it's so easy to go, yeah, why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? But at that point in time, there wasn't a lot going on. There wasn't a lot of projects out there. There was like probably maybe less than 10 a week. So it was very slow paced in that aspect, and you could actually look. So nothing was really happening. Big projects weren't. Obviously, there's CryptoPunks, but apart from, and obviously there was CryptoKitties, but there wasn't any other project out there that was doing anything what we're seeing now. So I can definitely relate why you were thinking, well, okay, then we'll just buy it and see what happens.
Yeah, and then my brother told me there's this thing called Discord.
Yeah.
I had no clue. So then I joined the Zed.run Discord, and I thought, oh, okay, this is where people actually hang out and talk about NFTs. And then I joined the Ape Gang Discord, and that was boy, that there was a lot of floor talk back then. It was quite interesting.
How was it? What would you say? How has it changed regards to over time, how it was then? I mean, what were you feeling then? What kind of vibe was it? What were people talking about at that point to how people approach projects now?
People were constantly talking about sweeping the floor and why are people listing below the floor? There was so much floor talk. And I think now as projects evolve and actually people start to get to know each other, because I mean the people that were on the Discord back in August and are still there, they've sort of become friends, right? I even met up with some of them in real life. So it's obviously different things you talk about.
Yeah. Okay. So at that point you join the Discord, and okay, it's active, it's all going off. Like, where do you get to the point where you're actually involved in the project? Like,
it just sort of happened when we got a new marketing manager on board. And he's actually the one who recruited me first as one of the mods. He just said, I need some people I can trust.
Yeah.
And then the mods suddenly became the management team. And then it evolved from there. You find out, okay, there's a bunch of stuff to do. You take on some responsibility and you grow with the role.
Yeah. The one thing to point out, Mark, and I don't know if you realize this, I think, like I said, we say back then, it was only last year, but it seems like so long ago. But there was projects being started by maybe like just 2 or 3 people, not big teams. It was literally like 2 or 3 people starting a project, and they put it out there, and then you'd kind of, like you said, recruit as you go along. And I can see that if you go on to obviously the Ape Gang website, you can see that now you've got quite a big team, loads of mods. Obviously, you got the management side of it, and you got the founders. So, which is important I think it's important for success for projects, because it's ongoing work, as you probably know already. So,
it's a lot of ongoing work.
So you're back. So I just wanted to point that out. Like at that back then, there wasn't projects dropping with big teams. It was just like literally 1 or 2 people, maybe 3, an artist, a developer, and maybe someone who could build the website, build the actual website.
Yeah, true. And then I guess the way the teams grew was that the founders got overwhelmed, and then they're like, shit, we need someone. You look okay, I'll bring you on.
that was the hiring process, wasn't it? Like, yes. you look active. Can you manage, or can you moderate in Discord? Okay, then that's great. There you go. Here's your role.
Yeah, the only qualification was, are you active on Discord? Yes, you've got the job. Let's go.
So then that happens. So Liz, before we go on ahead and talk a bit more about how you got involved in the roles that you took part in, I think just for anyone that isn't aware of Ape Gang and what you guys have done, let's touch on the actual project, which is obviously apes, which is a common thing within the space, but you guys are one of the early ones. I mean, was it before obviously Bored Apes, and how many ape projects were there before yourself? Was it Cyberkongs? They come before yourself?
Yeah, they came slightly before us.
Just slightly before, and then so you literally you guys are the beginning of this whole illustration of using apes within PFP projects. And so, tell me about that process and a bit more about the project in regards to what is it about? Why would somebody collect an Ape Gang?
So I guess what puts us, what makes us unique is that we're pixel art, and a lot of people like that. So yeah, I think the first thing that draws people in is the art, because we look kind of different from all the other projects, at least from an pixel ape point of view.
Yeah.
But then we evolved since then. So we have a bunch of different collections coming up now that's part of the ecosystem. We have a utility token, we have merchandise, we have games coming up. So we're really trying to branch out and become more than a PFP project, more of a brand. which is a tough journey, I'm telling you, but it's something that's necessary, I think, for OG projects, just because the initial hype wears off, right? And you have to have something, you have to constantly innovate and bring new things to the table to keep the attention on your project.
Yeah, this is something that I highlight, and I can't highlight enough, is that once you have started, whether it's a PFP project or some kind of project, and people are initially investing in what you guys are doing, then the nature, especially the nature space at this point, is people look for more. Okay, what's next? What's next? Especially this is encouraged by the roadmap. So I can imagine, like, okay, then you said you're going to do all this. Okay, then let me see you do it. So I know that one of the first things on your roadmap was the billboards in New York, which was that was crazy. I think that's how I actually see. I heard about the project, but I hadn't actually looked into it myself. It was that point when I seen that, I was like, oh shoot, like these guys are going like crazy, like in the middle of New York, and they got the billboards, and at that point, like I said, NFTs was PFP projects was still early. There wasn't so much going on in the real world as it is now. Yeah. So I really think that was a big move. I mean, how was that for you guys? How was that received by obviously the collectors and people outside the space?
I think it brought a lot of attention to our project. I mean, we had QR codes on the ads, and it didn't generate much sales, to be honest. I mean, but what it did generate was a whole bunch of good footage that we could use in marketing moving forward. So we got tons of eyeballs on it, and like you said, people remember us for the billboard. I
of course, man. I can imagine. Then on the flip side, like you said, it's a hard task. It's demanding. Obviously, looking through your roadmap, majority of it is ticked off. But the one thing that didn't get ticked off, which you can kind of clarify here, was the gaming aspect of iOS and Android. Now, what happened there, and then if it was a case that it wasn't done, how was that received by the collectors?
Yeah, so we got screwed by Fiverr, to be honest.
Okay.
We outsourced the game development and found someone who had a really good profile there.
Mm-hmm.
And they just didn't deliver. They took us for a ride, and we spent a bunch of time trying to get them to produce something.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't happen. And we finally we found out that they had been lying to us the whole time. They didn't have a team.
Okay, so these are the okay. So that's unfortunate, clearly, because you pay someone for a service, and that's what's happened. However, like these are things like, okay, then so why, as a project, and this is not just going for yourselves, but anybody else, why would we put things on the roadmap if you haven't got the facilities or the things in place to deliver on that when you put it there?
I think the roadmap is just as much sort of this is what we intend to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we did intend to make a game, and of course, when it doesn't work out, you think of a plan B. So we did engage another agency to make a different version of the game. That also turned out to be not so good. So apparently, it's difficult to make mobile games.
Yeah.
Now we're working on our third version of a mobile game, which the founders are taking full control of.
Mm-hmm.
And that looks good. So we're finally delivering on the game, slightly delayed, but it's coming.
I feel that's the most important thing, that you haven't given up, and it's not like a rug pull. You guys are actually trying to get things done. But like I said, it's also a lesson. Obviously, you guys learned the hard way, is that if you're going to do something, I think the collectors are going to want you to deliver on that. So was that received, like I said, was that received well by the collectors, or was there backlash on that? Like I said, no, we expected this. How was everybody?
I think people were fine.
Okay.
They of course also, it's not in their interest that we release something that doesn't look good and doesn't really work that well. So I think I think once but it's a matter of always having good communication with your community. So if we hadn't had communication along the way and sort of explaining the challenges we were having with this game, and suddenly said, now it's delayed or now it's not happening, then I think you could potentially get a backlash. But we've always done our best to keep the community informed all the way and through all the different processes.
And I think that's a valid point to touch on too, is communication is key, isn't it? Is that if you're gonna run some sort of project, and you've got Discord where people are seeking information, you've got to give that information. Hence why you have, I think, looking at your team, you've got about 15 moderators.
Yeah.
to keep up with all the demand, but it's needed. And like, these are things that people have to consider when they're starting a PFP project. It's an ongoing thing, and it's only going to get harder because as you grow and the more people involved, the more things you have to do and the higher the demand.
Yeah, so you have to realize very fast that it's just as demanding as having a real business, and you have to treat it like that.
Yeah, 100%. So other things that I've seen you guys do is, which I really haven't seen any other projects do, is that you've really gone hard on the socials, and that's what I like. Like not just picking obviously the Twitters, the Discords, and potentially Instagram. You're on Twitch, you're on TikTok, you're on YouTube, and building that. I honestly feel that having that presence now will benefit you in the long run, because you've done that from the beginning. So what was the whole strategy behind that? Was it something that you thought about? Is like, why did you choose to go on TikTok? Why did you choose to go on these different platforms rather than just a typical crypto native platforms in regards to Twitter and stuff like that?
That's a good question. I think there's several answers to it. One is because we're pursuing this this plan of becoming a decentralized brand, you need to be present on all the different platforms. So that's one answer. The other is that, that there's some pretty smart people on the management team. Maybe not me, but at least some of the others. And the cloud you build when you're present on all the different social platforms, it really adds to the value of your bargaining power and the kind of partnerships you can drum up. So people thought we were a bit silly to go on LinkedIn, to be honest, but that's where I found you.
Yeah, and it's true. It's true. No, you know what? And that shouts out to LinkedIn, man. Like that everyone's sleeping on LinkedIn. Like in regards to connections and reaching out to people, I think LinkedIn is a powerful tool that hasn't been touched. And because NFTs is so niche at the moment, you can access people that are actually talking about NFTs and some valuable people. So I do think that's important. Also, I've seen you guys on Facebook, and I don't think I've ever seen any NFT project on Facebook at all.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're on there, you're everywhere, the presence is there. So yeah, go back to what you were saying, is like building clout and having a presence and having that for partnership branding, which is numbers matter, don't they? Numbers matter when it comes to these real life brands.
They do.
So okay, so you've got that side. We might as well go into that. Is in regards to partnerships. What I've seen that you recently made a tweet. I don't know if that was once again marketing around Reebok. I mean, is there any partnerships you can talk about that you got on the books?
So we have a partnership with Binance.
Okay.
And we have a partnership with Ethereal Art Collective, I think they're called, where we have one of the founders' tokens. And that's basically an NFT art project where they showcase different NFT artwork across the world at different locations, and we're part of that.
Okay, well. What are you looking for from a partnership? So this is like for anyone out there that is looking for partnerships in the future. Like, what kind of things are you looking for from a partnership to bring to the table?
Well, obviously they should have some clout in terms of reach. We would like to use the partnerships to get out to different audiences, especially brands of something that we really want to venture into, brand partnerships, which is also why we were excited on the possibility to pitch to Reebok. So I can't really say anything about how that's going. It's an ongoing thing. So we'll keep you guys updated via Twitter.
Okay, cool. It's positive. It's positive. It'd be good to see something like that. We've got Reebok entering the metaverse. We've got Adidas. We've got Nike. So I'm sure they're sitting there looking for a route in here. So collaborate with somebody that's been an OG within the space and consistent. That would make sense.
Yeah, and I think our artwork works quite well on things like shoes and T-shirts and caps and whatever, and we would also be able to offer a metaverse presence where, because we're venturing into the sandbox with our newest collection of 3D apes, voxel apes. So there's a bunch of opportunities for brands to both have a presence in the metaverse, but also in the real life. So imagine you have like a branded shirt that you wear in the metaverse, and then you could also have it as a physical shirt in real life.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. So you brought Landing Sandbox, and obviously that's hot at the moment with all the other major blue chip projects involved, including obviously Snoop Dogg and whatnot, pumping that. But I also see you partner with, is it MetaWorld? Is that right?
They're called Lipen, I think.
No, Metapoly.
Is that the one you're referring to?
Is it Metapoly? Metapoly World?
Oh, that one. Yeah. Metapoly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So talk to me about that, because that's a collaboration, isn't it? So you got the decentralized metaverse. Why have you partnered with them or collaborated with them? And what's there to come? Yeah,
that's a funny story as well. That's also through LinkedIn.
Okay.
So Metapoly they want to build a reserve currency for the metaverse. So basically, you'll be able to deposit your land into their virtual bank, and you get a token.
Okay.
And then this token will then become an asset-backed reserve currency for the metaverse across different platforms.
Okay.
So you'll be able to deposit your decentralized land and your sandbox land and potentially other lands along the way.
Like collateral?
So, like collateral. So and it will be sort of a whole banking system where you can also take out loans and all kinds of advanced stuff that took me a long time to understand, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's that DeFi in it.
Yeah. The way this collaboration came about is that they actually reached out to me on LinkedIn because they wanted to do the same thing that Adidas Original did with Bored Ape Yacht Club. They wanted to make an NFT in collaboration with an NFT project. And because their pixel art, they have pixel art in their whole visual identity, and we have pixel art. We're apes, and we also give full commercial rights to anyone who holds our NFT. So if you own our NFT, you can do anything you want with it. So the apes I have at the back, I can put them on a T-shirt and sell it, and I have the right to do that.
Okay.
Because that was important for them if they wanted to make their own NFT based on our design. They wanted to make sure that they had the commercial rights.
Okay. Cool.
So all of those things combined made them actually reach out to us, and we said, yeah, sure, we would like to be a part of it. And right now they're making a Genesis NFT collection as part of their IDO, their initial Discord offering. And 30 of those will then be an exclusive Ape Gang version with special utilities in their whole ecosystem.
Okay. All right. So
then,
go on, carry on. What was you going to say?
Sorry. So it also comes in really handy that they're super good in tokenomics. So for all our upcoming pay-to-earn games, it's important to get the tokenomics right. You don't want your token to crash, because then basically you have no game anymore.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're dead.
Pretty much. I mean, that's nicely going to obviously spin on to what I was going to lead to is obviously the gang token. which is I see a lot. I see a few projects kind of doing this whole DeFi, being able to obviously yield and stake your actual NFT to gain tokens, which we could be worth money as the value goes for the token. So, talk to me about that. I mean, so why did you go down that route, and how does it work? Because I mean, this involves other projects like the Toucan Gang too, also. So
yes.
So yeah, break that down for anyone that's listening or watching.
Okay, well, I think it's a natural step for an NFT project to take when they start branching out and building the ecosystem. They need something to sort of fuel that ecosystem, and the utility token makes a lot of sense. So I think that was the main reason for doing it, because we do see Ape Gang as an ecosystem evolving, and we needed our own sort of currency, so to speak. Right now, the apes are just yielding gang. We don't have any utilities launched yet, but that will very soon come. And all the utility is related to stuff you can do within that ecosystem. So you'll be able to change the name of your ape and change the description. Those are sort of standard run-of-the-mill things. But you'll also be able to fuse the jaguars you win in gang wars to legendary jaguars, and then you'll be able to breed those. And the offspring will then have special voting rights in the future, and also special abilities. And you'll be able to use the gang for a lot of different stuff in our metaverse as well. We're even going to allow people to use gang to mint the new voxels that we're launching. So instead of using ETH, the holders of Ape Gang NFTs can use that gang to mint the voxels.
Well, just a question: that why would what I'm trying to understand, what is the benefit, and why does every project want to create a token for their project? Like, I understand, isn't that like taking a centralized like view on what you're doing? Like, you only can do this within this ecosystem, and we're trying to decentralize everything.
I don't know if I would make that coupling. But it's a good question.
Yeah, because I mean that's what comes to mind. Even though I understand the perks and the positives, and I mean, it wouldn't benefit you if you're going to benefit in your collectors with ETH. It's better for you to do it with your own tokens. So it makes sense for you guys. But I'm just looking at it from outside, and we're saying we're trying to do everything decentralized. If everybody takes this approach of doing their own tokens, then you're going to need a token for each project you're involved with, and then you can't use that token, or you can't use ETH to get the benefits of this, and I think it becomes very complicated in the long run.
Yeah, that's true. There'll be a lot of tokens in the long run. And most of them will probably fail, to be honest.
True.
That's only the ones that build really, really good utility will survive.
Yeah.
I think it boils down to the fact that as your ecosystem becomes more complicated, you need something that can facilitate all the different transactions. And a token just makes a lot of sense for that.
Yeah. Okay. So just to break that down, so anyone that's listening that wants to understand it. So if you own a ape, you can stake the ape, and you receive $1 of gang token. Yeah. And if you have a toucan, you can burn that toucan, and that will increase it to $1.25 token. Yeah, per day. So obviously you'll yield, and you'll get this every day, ongoing, forever. And obviously in the future, as the token builds its value, obviously it makes sense. This will you can actually convert that into whether that's ETH or whatever currency.
Yeah, so that's in the case that someone from our community makes a liquidity pool where you can swap the token to ETH. As a project, we can't really touch that.
All right.
So
it has
so
the value has to stay within the project.
I don't know if the value has to stay within the project, but the team that runs the project, they can't make a liquidity pool.
Okay.
it has to come from someone outside the management team.
Okay, cool. All right, so these are things like I like to talk about these because I don't really get to talk about projects doing these kind of things and talking about the benefits, because there's a lot of positives, but there's also, I wouldn't consider them negatives, but there's things to question. I always like to question things to see, is that something that that a project should do? Is that something that people can think about while they're doing this? So it's always good to discuss these things.
Yeah, I think one recommendation I would make is that if you think that down the line you would want to launch your own utility token, you should make sure that your contract actually supports that from the start. So one thing we're really struggling with now is that we started as a PFP project, and there was no plan of making a utility token. And we had a standard OpenSea contract. And to make the token, you need a smart contract, and we needed to migrate all our apes to the smart contract in order for them to yield the utility token. And now we're sort of in a limbo where 7,500 apes have been migrated to the new contract and are yielding our utility token. But there's some stuck on the old contract still, where maybe they forgot they had an ape. Maybe they want to sell it. Other reasons for not migrating. Yeah. And it really hurts the project, because when people go to OpenSea, they see two collections. They see an old collection where all the volume has been, and then they see a new collection with a lot less volume, and then they get confused.
Okay. Yeah, and that I can imagine that, because people could think it's two different projects. One could be a fake, one could be a real one. Like, yes. if you're new to it, because this is something, this is what happens on OpenSea. So with all that going on, like, we might as well go on to talking about, which we talked about earlier on, is like, once you come out as a project, you've got that hype. How do you maintain that consistency in regards to keeping your floor price up and keeping that interest? Like you touched on, that's one of the things that affected you. What other things affected you initially as you went on?
To be honest, I think what affected us the most is the fact that so many new projects suddenly launched. And look at it this way: some people are in the NFT space to earn a quick buck, right?
A lot of people.
a lot of people. So although I like it for the artwork, I have to state that for the record. So you have your money in Ape Gang, right? And maybe the floor is quite stable where it is. You could take that money and put it into a new project that's minting and has a bunch of hype, and then perhaps double your money, which won't really happen that fast in an OG project, because that initial hype has passed, right? So the way I see the NFT space now is that it's a big pot of money that's just flowing from one hype project to another, and people aren't really putting it into the OG projects, except that handful of projects that are really blue chip.
So what do you think they done different then? From just your opinion, what do you think these other blue chip projects, obviously you got the BAYC Cool Cats, what did they do different to you guys? Or what was, maybe it was timing? Well, Cool Cats were the same time as yourself, so yeah, what's your thoughts?
It's a really good question. What makes one NFT project explode and others stagnate? I think it's a snowball effect. So I think it's a matter of them getting that initial momentum, and maybe getting lucky that some influencers bought in, some famous people bought in. It all sort of added up. The floor increases above 1, above 2 ETH. Everyone sees it as a blue chip, and everyone wants an exposure to that project. It wants them in their portfolio. Then more money flows in, and it kind of becomes a snowball effect.
Okay. So, I mean, the thing to highlight there, you would say, is the influence that would, because there's a lot of that. There still is a lot now. There's been a lot of talk within the space around people pumping projects, influencers pumping projects, and what's your thoughts on that then? I mean, did you do something that you guys and Ape Gang thought, no, we don't want to use influencers, we want that organic growth, we want to build that community, or was it something you just didn't consider?
We never really spent money on the influencer hype, to be honest. We chose the organic route. We have quite a few influencers who hold apes.
Okay.
And they've held them for ages since we started, and they do it because they love the artwork. And we would rather have those kind of people on board, I think, than influence that you buy like a tweet for 2 ETH, they tweet, and then 2 weeks later they sell the NFT.
Yeah.
That being said, if Gary V is listening to this, Gary, please tweet about us.
Yeah, Gary V's an exception. Yeah, man, like this is what he's one. Touched on Gary V, he's one to look on, like, especially he champions OG projects, rare catches, things. So I mean, have you guys not reached out to him? And I mean, or being in his radar? I mean, like, I know that he was over at NFT NYC, so accessing him or reaching out to him.
Yeah, and you know, it's maybe one day we'll get lucky.
It is. I think let's face it, it takes a bit of luck too also. And who's to say, like, what is the definition of success for a project at this point? Because I still think it's early. As much as there's projects are flying up, if they're flying up, there's the only ways down. So I'm not encouraging that, but this is what can happen in the future. With floor prices can drop. We just haven't seen it yet, to the extent for project being worth 5,000, 10,000 dropping to zero. It happens in the real world. So it definitely can happen here. So I think that even though you guys have gone the organic routes, but you've been persistent. I mean, I see you built up a following on obviously socials, and you've got a following. Even though you say that you're not as where you were when you initially hyped off. What was the floor price when you initially launched and minted, when the hype was there?
It increased to around 0.8 ETH or 0.9 at the highest.
0.9. So how much is that around dollars wise?
It's about $2,500.
$2,500. And at the moment you're at 0.188, which is, so you're looking at 500 to 600, and then depending on the rarities, some are going for like $2,000 still. I looked at your recent trades and whatnot. So there are some going for that still, depending on the rarities, but the floor price is around 500, which is still high. I would consider, like, because zero is zero, isn't it? So yeah, so $500 is still there, but it wasn't where it was. So I know that you can have that comparison. But what are you guys doing to get it back up there then? So is that your main priority now? Is building the floor price?
I wouldn't say that our priority is increasing the floor price. I don't think that's a sustainable way of approaching building NFT projects if you have focus on the floor price all the time. I think what will keep Ape Gang in the game for a long time is that we have dedicated founders who want to make this the only business that they ever have, and we just keep building. At some point, the hype will come back. We launch something that people think is really cool, and we have a bunch of good stuff in the pipeline, which I can't share, because if you share it, then you lose the hype.
Well, it depends on when we're dropping it. When are you dropping it? And then we can drop it at the same time.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
No exclusives.
But we definitely see a huge potential for blockchain based play to earn games. So we finished one game already, which was Gang Wars, where the earning was another NFT called Jaguars, which will be their own collection. And we definitely want to continue that, because we do see that blockchain-based gaming is something that can open the NFT space to the masses. I mean, bring in millions and millions and even billions of people.
100%.
So I would actually say that the success of an NFT project is staying alive, to be honest. Stay alive and keep building, and then one day your luck will change and your floor will go up again and everyone's happy.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I really think I agree. Staying alive and people being interested, people being there, like the fact that you still got people that are holding on to the apes. You've got people, you've got a team that believes in what you're doing, and they're consistently out there and they're consistently building. I mean, this is we I know obviously the NFT space there's a lot of money going around, but however, it's still small. Like I said, the masses have not joined. So maybe your particular market, the people that your demographic that will come in, that will jump on your project and it will blow. So I'm still that's still waiting to happen. Like there's a lot of projects that haven't really gone to the point where they should be based on the work that they've put in. But look at the I mean, I'm not sure what the figure is. I think it's like 500,000 users on Coinbase. Like that's nothing. Like that is nothing. So when everyone actually jumps on and understands the NFT space, I think that's where you will actually see where you actually fall, like within the market, and how people, if people actually appreciate the project, and the proof will be in the pudding because you've been doing the work and the legwork. So I think in the long run, I think that always pays off.
I think so. Yeah, I think so, definitely. And we're lucky to have some really diehard fans in our community. I mean, shout out to my boy Golden Ape in Singapore, who's actually wrapped his car in a huge Ape Gang sticker.
That's great. That's real. And there's also you guys, it's Def Ape.
Yes.
Yeah. I spoke to him before. He was repping it. He's got like ridiculous amount of apes.
He's got 84 apes, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and toucans. So like he was really pushing the project. Also, when I spoke to him, so like
we have one guy who owns 920 apes.
Wow, 920 apes.
Yeah, BGB, the Dark Lord. He's our biggest fan.
So there you go. Like I think you need with any brand, you just need a cult following, whether that's 1,000 or 1,000 people. That, I mean, if 1,000 people and the average is like ownership is like 5 or 20 apes, you're good at it. You're good to go. Yeah. So because I think like if you're actually launching a token, which you have, you need people to be invested in the project to stay, because what's the point of them yielding tokens if they're not going to stay and use it within the ecosystem?
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I think the big play for us will also be to create an external demand for the token. So as soon as you have people outside the community wanting to access the token, to access Ape Gang,
yeah,
I think that's where you really start taking off.
Yeah, cool. So when I know we touched on so many things. We touched on obviously the gaming aspect, which is a big thing that you guys are actually focused on now. Tell me, what in regards to your personal views, how big do you think this is going to be in regards to blockchain gaming and NFTs in these games that exist already, like AAA games? Like, tell me, where do you think things are going in the next few years, and how does that look?
Yeah, I definitely think that the gaming aspect of NFTs, actually being able to use them for something other than, look at them on your computer screen or your phone, is going to be something that really opens NFTs to the masses. That being said, there'll be a lot of projects that die along the way, and then there'll be a few projects who actually crack the code and become successful. And those will be projects that build a lot of utility around that token. So you really want to avoid people getting the token and then just dumping it once it increases in value. Because, hey, I mean, if you buy a token and it suddenly 10x's, I mean, it's quite tempting to sell it. So you need to really develop utilities within your game and within your ecosystem that prevents or sort of that gives so much value to people that they don't want to sell the token even though it 10x's.
Yeah. because they want to stay within what you've created.
Yes.
The ecosystem. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's not easy.
It's not easy, no. I think at least my personal opinion is that the games that will succeed are the games that are fun to play. So if you can develop a game that's fun to play and you would play it regardless of earning tokens or not, it's just a cool game to play, I think then you're probably onto a winner.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. So once again, personal question. Are you a collector yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, collectors are okay. And so what do you collect, all the PFP projects? If so, like what projects have you got? What kind of projects have you got at the moment?
I've still got some Genesis Z horses from back in the day.
You mentioned, yeah.
I think that they're going to be worth gold at some point, because the whole idea of having digital horse racing and not having to actually feed your horse or pay for the stable. It's pretty good.
Don't give them any ideas. You'll see them actually introducing that, and you have to feed your horse and all sorts.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Maybe you can cut that out.
Yeah. So Zed Run. What else? Any other projects?
I'm very heavily exposed in Ape Gang, to be honest. I have a bunch of apes and a bunch of toucans.
Yeah.
Lately, I've had quite a degen moment for me, because I've bought into projects that had no roadmap and no Discord, but just looked really cool. I missed the boat on the M First by Satoshi.
Okay, yeah.
So I bought a couple of the derivatives, and the one I like the most is I think it's called M for Chicks. It's sort of the female version. Right. I'm holding some of them. What else do I have? I have Paradise Trippies, because they were made by Andy Booth, who's a famous Bored Ape Yacht Club holder.
Okay.
They're pretty cool. I'm holding on to those. What else do I have? I think that's more or less it. Then some random stuff that I bought, because we have this alpha channel in Ape Gang's Discord. Some people say, you gotta buy this one, it's gonna fly. And then I'm sitting there bored at night. And I just, oh yeah, it's only 0.07 ETH. I'm gonna buy one. So I have a bunch of those.
So what do you look for in a project then? If you're gonna, because obviously you're involved in an OG project, you guys are doing obviously so much things to build a community and to continue to build that community. What do you look for in a project when you're looking at PFP projects? What will be the four main things?
I think there's basically just one main thing, is whether I like the artwork or not.
Interesting.
Because I'm slightly damaged from looking at apes for too long, but I really like pixel art. So whenever there's a project that's pixel, I'm pretty much hooked.
Okay. All right. So with that in mind, though, if you take that, if everyone has that approach, then because I'm assuming that why you guys focus so much on utility then? Like what kind of collectors are you guys attracting? Does that make sense? Because if you say, which I agree, I feel that if you buy into a PFP project, the first thing you should do is you buy either because you invest in them within the person and you want to support, or you like what they're doing, or you like the art. And if it goes to zero, it goes to zero. If it moons, it moons. But they're the perks. You've got no guarantee whether it's going to moon or not. So that's the approach I would recommend. However, you guys are going to offer so much value based on what you've seen from your collectors already.
Yeah, so we wouldn't build the stuff we're building unless it resonates with the community. So I think the beauty about the NFT space is that people buy NFTs for a bunch of different reasons. Mm-hmm. Some people buy them because they like the artwork. Some people buy them because they want to become part of the community. Some people buy them because they want to make a quick buck. Some people buy them because they like the fact that if you have an ape, then you can also have a voxel and walk around in the sandbox with it and play a game with it. So you have all these different people with all these different reasons for buying NFTs that all come together in one group.
Mm-hmm.
So I think naturally the project then evolves, right? Because you want to try to make everyone happy. The people like you and me who like the artwork, we're the most easy people to make happy because
Yeah.
you know the artwork is always there.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think are we the fool? Are we protecting ourselves by doing that?
I don't know.
I think it might be a little bit in between. I mean, but I think that's the best approach and stop you from getting burns, because we have no idea. Projects go up and the projects go down. So that's what you just got to be aware of when you're looking into any projects. But okay, so we've covered so much in regards to the projects you like and different PFP projects. Industry wise, is there anything out there that you're excited about apart from gaming? Clearly, because you guys obviously looking into that, but anything in regards to like real estate, health sector, fashion, entertainment, sports?
Yeah, I'm super excited about brand partnerships. So
okay.
Teaming up with brands that make apparel, teaming up with energy drinks. I would love to see an Ape Gang clubhouse in Singapore, in New York, where you can come in and there's the ape art on the wall and you can buy an ape drink and maybe eat a banana in a corner or whatever. So really what excites me is NFTs sort of transitioning into the real world, where the fact that you own an NFT is like an exclusive access to something really cool in the real world.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Like that is one of the exciting things. Well, if not one of the exciting of what the possibilities, what can happen. But what I always like to ask too also is, Mark, is finding out tapping into your mind of how you think things are going to be in the future. So let's imagine you wake up in the next, say, well, hopefully you're not sleeping for that long, but in the next 5 years, you wake up, where do you see NFTs in your life? And not just talking about PFPs, and how are you using them and how is it involved in your day-to-day? So starting from the morning when you wake up, what does it look like?
I think they will be integrated into our everyday life to a much higher extent than they are now. It doesn't take much imagination to see that things like plane tickets, train tickets, concert tickets, all of that stuff could be NFTs, right?
Yeah.
Because it adds a dimension of you being able to trade it. So imagine your favorite concert, you buy a lifetime access to that concert, and it's an NFT, and you can trade it with other people, or a lifetime plane ticket. I mean, there's so many possibilities of adding ownership to those kind of assets.
Yeah, so you got the access side of it. What about like even voting? Like, I think that's going to change. Like old systems that can be kind of rigged in any way when it comes to like voting for your president or whatnot. Like, use NFTs with the voting rights.
Yeah, that's a good point. It could be.
Yeah, there's so many things. I think there's so many old systems in place that we don't talk about. We talk about all the exciting things, but the boring things, but also important things we can apply NFTs to. I think also like the holding our data, like our like ID identification and data and passports and stuff like that as NFTs, which makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, why have we still got books for our passports?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm forever fretting when I book a holiday. I'm like, okay, now I got to go find my passport.
Yeah.
Like, why are we still doing that? Like, I just love to have it on my phone and be able to go, okay, then cool, I'm going on holiday. I've got my passport always as ID.
Yeah, you operate it as a chip into your wrist. Yeah.
all that. Nah, I don't think I'm going to do the chip thing, but I'll stay with the phone. But okay, cool. So like, just to round it off, where can people find out about Ape Gang, and where's the best place to find you guys if they want to contact, especially for the brand partnership side of it?
So yeah, you can reach out to us on Twitter. That's a good place to start. The Twitter also has our link tree with all our socials. Mm-hmm. If you want a quick one-to-one contact, then hit me up on LinkedIn.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And what do they search on LinkedIn?
They can just search for Ape Gang, and then they'll see that there's one employee for Ape Gang, and that's me.
Okay.
Because I'm the one that handles LinkedIn. None of the others have their profiles.
Cool. So guys, if you want to reach out to Ape Gang in regards to partnership collaborations, make sure you hit them up on LinkedIn. Obviously, you get them on Twitter. I'll make sure I put all the links in below. And yeah, man, I'd like to thank you for coming on. Like, I'm always happy to especially have people that have been in the space for so long and continue to grow. And like, at least I'm interested to see where you guys will be the next year or so. I'm excited to see all the things that you're doing. And hopefully you just continue to grow and be as big as you should and recognize as you should. But I think that's going to happen as more people enter the space anyway.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. And we should schedule like a follow-up talk end of this year, and then I can tell you whether we made it or not.
You'll be here, man. I'm sure you will. But yeah, thank you again, Mark, for your time today. Everyone, thank you for watching and listening. Everyone stay listening and stay blessed.